Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video in Swear's Corner. I'm Swear and today we will be discussing Stranger Things 4 Volume 1. Now obviously that means there are spoilers ahead if you're not up to date with the show, so I suggest you click away, maybe binge the show and then come back, otherwise you will be spoiled to some heavy details from Season 4. Let's get on with the video. Now I have been watching the show since it first premiered. Right, it premiered in 2016, which means that I was... God, I'm bad at math. I was about 13 years old when the show premiered in 2016, and it's 2022 now, which means I'm 19? Oh my God, I am 19 years old, which means I have been with the show for about 6 years of my life, which is a long time, you know, and I've kind of grown up with the actors while filming, which has been actually pretty cool because, you know, as they get older, I watched myself get older, and we've all kind of, I guess, followed the same aging process, which has been quite fun to watch. But anyway, I don't want to waste anyone's time. Let's get into the crux of why we were here. Right, as you can see from the title of this video, I think I have figured out who is going to be dying in Stranger Things 4. Right, and this question has been percolating in the back of my mind for a considerable number of years now, because I feel like it's time that one of the main characters dies. You know, we've had numerous characters throughout the seasons die. You know, we had Bob Newby in Season 2, rest in peace, King. Then we had Alexei in Season 3, oh, what a guy. And those characters were their deaths were very heartbreaking, but I feel like it's time that someone of importance is going to die. And I feel like the Duffer Brothers have been cooking up a very significant death for a while now. And I think that in Volume 2, a main character death is coming. And we'll get into who it is in just a bit. So for the past year, I've been thinking, you know, who's gonna die? You know, we all thought that Hopper died at the end of Season 3, briefly, but we all knew there was no way they were going to kill off, you know, Daniel Harbour. But Hopper died, but he came back, so that doesn't count as the main character death. And I'm thinking that I think I've cracked who's going to die. It's going to be Max. Now, before I get into why I think Max is going to be the one that dies, I'm going to try to educate you guys on Chekhov's gun, right? Chekhov's gun is a storytelling device which basically summarizes the idea that if you introduce a gun into a story, right, before the story concludes, that gun must be fired. It has to go off, right? In a story, you shouldn't introduce something unless it's going to have some form of payoff somewhere in the story, right? Chekhov's gun. With this in mind, let's rewind back to Season 3, right? At the very beginning of the season, Hopper writes a letter, or more so a speech that he wants to say to Eleven, but he never gets that chance to speak to her because he dies. This is Chekhov's gun, right? And now at the very end of the season, after Hopper has died, Eleven finds Hopper's speech and she reads it, and it's such an emotional gut punch, right? This is Chekhov's gun going off, right? In the beginning of the season, they introduce the gun, which is the letter, and the gun pays off, or the gun goes off at the end of the season in the form of Eleven reading Hopper's letter. And so with this idea of Chekhov's gun being applied in Season 3, I started to think, has it been applied in Season 4? The answer is yes. Now in this season, Max writes all her friends letters, Chekhov's gun, because she thinks that Vecna is going to kill her, so she writes her friends letters so she doesn't leave them empty-handed. Now my suspicion is somehow in the second half of this season, Max is going to die in some heroic death or whatever, and the emotional gut punch of her death is going to come in the aftermath when her friends and loved ones read her letters that she wrote. This is Chekhov's gun going off. This is my theory, because why would the Duffer Brothers introduce these letters if they don't have an intent of having these letters pay off in some way? And the only instance that I can think of that these letters pay off in a way is if Max is no longer here, i.e. she dies, and her friends are forced to read the letters. Specifically Lucas, because at the moment he's the closest character to Max, you know, because they're dating. And I've been trying to think about it logically. You know, why introduce the letters if they're not going to pay off in some emotional way somewhere down the line? This is where my entire theory started, right, in terms of Max's death and how and why she's going to die. And then I started to think about it even more, right? Max has been the most developed character this season, right? She has gone through so much growth as a character compared to everyone else. She has asserted herself as one of the main characters this season. And again, you don't introduce something into stories unless it's going to pay off in some way. I think that they've given Max so much character development this season so that by the end of the season, when the Duffer Brothers do kill her off, her death has emotional resonance and feels justified. You know, I think that they're buttering up Max to be a fan favorite so that when the Duffer Brothers do kill her in the second half of this season, it genuinely hurts and it's an emotional gut punch. And I feel like it's going to be just that, an emotional gut punch. Especially for me, because I've got a bit of an attachment to Max, but more importantly, I've got a bit of an attachment to Sadie Sink, the actress who plays Max. Oh my god. Oh, and I've always really liked the idea of Max and Lucas together. I think that there's a lot of potential for them as characters in a relationship, and I've loved to watch their progression as individuals, but also as a unit. I enjoyed seeing their progress from the beginning of the series till now. And the more that I've thought about how impactful Max's death would be, the more that it just makes sense. Right, okay, think about this. Think about how poetic it would be if Max dies this season. Right? Max's whole arc so far has been her trying to deal with the trauma of losing her brother Billy. You know, she says that she wishes she could swap places with him. You know? That she wishes he didn't die and it could have been her that died instead. And how poetic would it be if instead of Max switching places with her brother, what if she dies and joins him in the afterlife? You know what I mean? Like, think about, it makes so much sense that her introduction into the series, she was attached to her brother Billy, and now her ending, her death in this show is also once again attached to her brother. Sorry, there's been a lot of hand gestures in this video. I'm new at this whole YouTube thing. I do not know what to do with my hands at all. But as I was saying, she came into the series attached with her brother Billy. How poetic would it be if that was her exit too? You know, she exits the series to join her brother in the afterlife, obviously in some heroic death. She's not going to go out of her way to kill herself, but my theory is, just like Billy sacrificed himself in season 3, Max is going to follow in his footsteps and sacrifice herself in this season. And also, I've been kind of thinking about this from a logical point of view, right? If you look at all the characters that we have in the show so far, the only person who I think would have a sufficient and satisfying death at this point in time would be Max, right? All the other characters, you know, the kids, the adults, it feels like their storylines are not yet wrapped up. Like, they still have things to accomplish as characters before they become obsolete. But I feel like this season, Max has been written in such a way where if she died, you know, in this season, I feel like we as viewers would understand it, and it would be a satisfying death because it would feel justified. Like, Max has had her entire arc. You know, there's not much else that we're missing from her character. You know, we've been given everything that her character needs, and if she died this season, I think it would be okay. You know, I say that, but Max is one of my favorite characters, so if she dies regardless, I'm gonna be very sad. But also, if she died this season, I would be okay, because I feel like her character will have fully served her purpose in the story. As much as I want to see more of her, I think if she died, I would be okay with it. Basically, what I'm saying is that if any other big character in the show was to die, it would feel like their death is premature. Whereas if Max died, at the end of season 4, I feel like her storyline would be fully complete, and I would be a satisfied viewer. You know what I mean? Now I feel like no one would be more heartbroken to see the wonderful Sadie Sink, and also, more importantly, the character of Max die this season, but I don't know, guys. I have a strong feeling that this is where we say goodbye to Max. You know? And as much as I don't want this to happen at all, I feel like this is the only logical direction that the second half of season 4 is going to take. Now, this whole theory is dependent on a main character dying at the end of the season. Now, that might not happen. And if it doesn't happen, I don't know, I'll be kind of upset because I've just, made a whole video about me explaining why a major character is going to die and then the character doesn't die. I don't know, it would feel like I wasted all my time. But also, I feel like it's that time when a major character needs to die, because all these characters have survived so much, and I feel like it's time for someone to go. And if we think about the story from that perspective, like someone has to die, who is it going to be? The only logical explanation and the only logical character to die, in my opinion, is Max. So do with this information what you will. I will most definitely be tuning in on July 1st to see if anyone dies, number 1, and who dies, number 2. And I hope with all my heart that I'm wrong and Max doesn't die, that nobody dies, but I feel like someone is gonna die, someone big is gonna die, and I feel like it's gonna be Max. Now please tell me what you guys think of this theory in the comments down below. I have been losing sleep trying to figure this out for the past couple weeks. So yeah, let me know how you guys feel about this theory. What do you think is going to unfold in the second half of this series and this season? And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video of Swear's Corner. Thank you for tuning in.